Yo, what's up, Lucid Crew? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, make sure to like the video and subscribe and hit the notification bell to see more videos like this. Let's get into it.
Three competing extraterrestrial civilizations have been using this planet as a laboratory. What I've been told by a Defense Intelligence Agency analyst in December of 1999, and he said, my job was to monitor and analyze the conflicting competition of three extraterrestrial biological civilizations in conflict with each other on and apparently over something about this planet for genetic manipulation for at least 270 million years. And I said, well, 270 million years is before the time of the dinosaurs. And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, one of the three competing groups made the dinosaurs as an 80 million plus year long experiment. We think it was the Ebens, the ones with the heads that are shaped like this and pear-shaped chin. He said, the Ebens have demonstrated for us that they can move matter in this universe into another dimension or another timeline. And they do it all of the time. He said 66 million years ago, something was headed for this planet that was 6 miles in diameter. Was it an asteroid? Were they responsible for it? That took out 95% of surface life on Earth, including all of the dinosaurs. If this was their experiment, they could have moved that 6-mile diameter object into timeline or another dimension, and there never ever would have been any collision. What else can we conclude? But they did an 80 million plus year experiment. And then is this the way they ended it? By taking out 95% of all Earth surface life.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, God did it in the Old Testament, right? He's like, here, let's just swipe out and start over. You know, you guys can't act right. There have been multiple world-ending events, right? Like, that have just wiped out all the life on Earth. I think like 7 of them that we know of. And that would be crazy if it was just like alien beings, like experimenting on an entire planet. Like, we're just a big laboratory. And they're just like, oh, I don't like the way this looks. Or I don't like the way these people are behaving. Or, you know, they're not evolving as rapidly as we would have liked them to. Let's just wipe them out and start over. So just hurl a big rock at us. Honestly, nothing would surprise me anymore. I'm pretty dumbfounded with just the way that everything is going. Not to be bleak, but I mean, the world is insane. It's insane nowadays, right? I could certainly see someone being fed up, like some creator being fed up and being like, okay, this is not what I had in mind at all. You kids are breaking shit. You kids can't act right. You won't clean your rooms. You won't apologize to each other. You're bullying each other. Like, you know, I'm going to punish you. Maybe they just send us to our rooms without dinner once or twice. You know, maybe that'll do the job. Maybe don't hurl a massive rock at us. You know, I think we could learn. Hopefully.
But I want to mention something. One of the bombshells that we dropped was that there's a declassified federal document. Anyone watching this interview can go find this document. It's on the FBI vault. Document 6751, it's a document from the 40s. It was written by a prominent member of academia, and it was submitted to the FBI. In this document, they make a case that entities are not space aliens, but that they're interdimensional or extra-dimensional entities that are crossing over from a plane known as the ethereal plane.
Were they extraterrestrial from another planet? Were they ultra-dimensional from a different dimension? It all depends who you ask.
This could be something that is extra or hyperdimensional. Now, I don't mean extra-dimensional in a woo-woo sense. I mean extra-dimensional in a quantum physics sense.
Demons kind of like follow you around. And in the Jewish Talmud, it says there's so many demons compared to humans that an average man on a regular day might have 30,000 of them on his left sleeve. That's what it says. Like crazy to think about. That's what the Jews believed. So they follow you around kind of like caseworkers. I'm not talking about possession or oppression. It'd take about 30 minutes to explain that. Basically, they're just like assigned to your life, like caseworkers, was the way I think of it and the way I explain it. They follow you around and they look for grievances. He didn't put his left signal on. He's disrespecting the law of the land. And they write up a little fictitious lawsuit, take it to the court of heaven and see if they can get it passed. The court's like, no, this is frivolous, 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 frivolous. And they just keep writing these like legal cases against you until they get something to stick. Until Jesus is like, yeah, that is something they need to, you're right. Okay, I'll prove that one. They show up to your life with a warrant to destroy your life, and you've given it to them through your actions, and it's signed by Jesus. And so you're like, in Jesus' name, leave it. They're like, bruh, Jesus is the one that signed that.
Yikes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you've got to repent change your mind, right?
I guess I could maybe see that being something in the Old Testament. God was supposedly, a lot more strict back then. I just know that, like, nowadays, like, modern day Christianity, they go off the New Testament, correct? So I wouldn't really see that aligning with what's being taught, I guess. But big guy upstairs created everything, right, for a reason. So, the negative, you can't have the good without the bad, can't have the bad without the good. Maybe it's just created to help us appreciate the good stuff. Because, I mean, if there was no bad stuff that happened, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the good stuff. You wouldn't continually work to progress and better situation and experience. I don't think that demons are being assigned to me. I think that everything is just a effect of something I did or didn't do, a decision I made or a decision I didn't make. And those are just the repercussions of my actions. If I had to make it make sense, that's what I would do, just for helping us with personal growth and accountability, and basically enlightening us on the path we should take in life to be better people and help the people around us and experience everything positive that this wonderful world and life have to offer.
I'm going to suggest to you that the legends of the ancient Greeks embody the truth of what really happened in the past, that there were these strange creatures generating hybrids that the Greek called Titans. And we see Zeus in many forms. We see Atlas and Hercules. Atlas and Hercules from Greek mythology were what would be called in the Hebrew Nephilim, offspring of an intermarriage between a god and a woman. And so now these legends we obviously see in the Sumer culture, in Assyria, in Egypt. I'll show you a few things. In the Incas, the Mayan, the Epic of Gilgamesh, in the Persian mythology, and certainly in the Greek mythology, which most of us as products of Western civilization are familiar with. Also in India, Bolivia, South Sea Islands. Every one of these cultures, and the American Indians, every one of these cultures have legends of the star people. These people that came, these gods or demigods, whatever, came and cohabited with women and produced hybrids.
The latter days, in part, will be distinguishable because of the rise of powers that have been suppressed or repressed over the years, but in the latter days those powers will emerge once again. And one of our favorite verses has to do with some of the words of Jesus in Matthew 24, starting in verse 36, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And what he's saying here is the days of Noah will be sort of transplanted into the latter day era. And you and I both believe we're seeing that right now.
What are they keeping from us? And why are all the streets in these pictures made of dirt? I mean, you spend all this time building beautiful architecture just to have horrible dirt roads? Nah, they didn't build these cities. These were inherited by different peoples, and then they were cleared out. This brings us to the next step in the reset process, which was the trafficking of orphans into new reset cities. Parents would give up rights to children for multiple months so that the asylum would prevent them from learning bad habits. This was a huge thing back then, where you had these orphan homes and asylums that essentially were one.
We've got a problem. Men might be going extinct. Science shows the human Y chromosome needed to make a man is fading away. A person's biological gender is determined by special chromosomes in their DNA, which come in two types, X and Y. If you have two X's, you get a female, but if you have one X and one Y, a male. A few years ago, researchers noticed that the Y chromosome required for men to exist has been shrinking over the past 200,000 years or so, with some experts estimating the Y chromosome to completely leave our DNA within the next 5 million years. And with our current DNA structure, no Y chromosome means no men. Obviously, having less men around would cause society to crumble, with reduced fertility rates leading to the entire human population to slowly decline into extinction. But still, other scientists claim that our DNA would adapt and move over to another chromosome to make males. Just like we see in species like the mommy spiny rat, who have no Y chromosome, yet the males are maling just fine, although they are endangered, aka on the verge of extinction. Are humans gonna share the same fate, or does our DNA have a trick up its sleeve? Guess we'll find out in about 5 million years.
I mean, if that's happening naturally, it's certainly being expedited by all the water and the plastics and everything in our food and in the air and everything that's basically dropping our testosterone levels. I guess like men's testosterone levels have dropped like 50% in the past like 60 years or something like that. Like it's insane because of like our diets and the fact that our water filtration systems can't filter out all the chemicals like through birth control and things like that. So the same things that Alex Jones says are, you know, making the frogs making the frog gay. I mean, the same things affecting us, right? Sweet, man. Who run the world? Girls. Who run the world? Girls.
Listen, Looney Tunes is actually real. The entire show was a cover-up for a classified project where scientists experimented with genetic modification and animal intelligence. It was called Project Toontown. The idea was simple but insane. Engineer animals with human-like intelligence and abilities that could be used for covert operations, espionage, and even sabotage. They experimented with advanced gene editing technology and neural enhancement using various animals like rabbits, ducks, and birds. Over time, these animals began to develop human-like intelligence, learning to speak, reason, and in some cases exhibit psychopathic tendencies. That's how Bugs Bunny came to be. He wasn't just a cartoon character, he was one of the first successful subjects of Project Toontown. He not only gained the ability to speak, but also to outsmart the scientists who created him. Bugs became dangerously intelligent, constantly outwitting the staff, breaking out of his containment facility.
Not to mention also outsmarting Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam. Oh, that wascally wabbit. Oh, man. Sorry, I saw the picture of the geese and just pictured like a goose, like a Howard the Duck, just walking into a government facility and defusing a bomb or something. That's the first thing I saw in my head, and just everyone just like being okay with it. It's like, oh, no problem, it's just a goose. It's like, what the hell's a goose doing in this facility? I don't know. I used to think Alex Jones was an insane person, and he clearly he is in his own right, in his own ways. You know, he's a crazy person. He gets so much stuff right. You know, he called so much stuff, and clearly he gets some things wrong, obviously. You know, I mean, but you'd be a little crazy too if your whole day surrounded this, right? Your whole day surrounded not only just seeing what's happening behind closed doors, but also trying to tell people and no one believing you. I feel like that's like the craziest part of it. Like this channel's fun and games, you know, like we watch these videos and we, you know, teeter on the line of things being true, things not being true. And we talk about them and talk about shared knowledge, like stuff that I've heard about these topics, but you know, it's nothing like that. It's not nearly as deep as the whole Alex Jones thing, where he's like researching and going super deep and trying to unlock stuff and uncover secrets and expose people. Like, I'm not doing that. This is just fun for me. I like learning this stuff. I like hanging out with you guys. But even just watching these videos for the past year, like I've rethought so many different topics. My opinions have changed so much on so many different theories and stories, and it's caused me to get more interest in some areas. And I'm becoming more, just from doing YouTube videos once in a while, watching TikTok clips, I'm becoming more interested and more ingrained in like this whole conspiracy theory culture. So I can only imagine if my entire life was dedicated to like digging deep and trying to expose people, I would probably be a little off the hinges too, right? I'd be out to lunch for sure. I could see it happening right now. So, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, man, this is a crazy world.
Heard about the aliens that contacted us in 1981 trying to tell us how to stop reincarnating as humans over and over and over again? You're foolish. That's what I thought too. until I heard the full story. In 1981, Carla Rucker, who was a girl from Kentucky, began receiving telepathic contact from a group of entities calling themselves Ra. According to Rucker, these were the stick with me, the collective consciousness from a higher dimension of the planet Venus. They evolved 2.6 billion years ago into a higher dimension, and they came back to give us information and to tell us how to stop reincarnating and much more. Then over the next couple years, they kept this contact going, and there was 3 of them. There was Carla herself, there was Don, then there was also Jim wrote down everything. Don was the one asking questions. It was kind of written in a Q&A format, and because they were asking questions to this entity, but the entity was actually talking through Carla. And all of these conversations they actually put into a book series, actually I think 4 or 5 books, and it's called The Law of One. So what you're saying is she got possessed. I wouldn't say she was possessed because she had a Bible at her head in order to make contact with them. And also, this was all documented extensively. Like, they had microphones on the whole time. You can actually go listen to the original audios from 1981. Okay. So how do we stop reincarnating over and over then? Well, real quick, I think it's important to understand what the main message of Ra actually is. Here's a quote from session 4. The law of one, though beyond the limitations of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, there is no wrong, no right, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love light, or light/love, the infinite creator. So it's about everything being God. Kind of, but it's not a religious book at all. In the book, it actually says that it doesn't matter if you know about the book, The Law of One, and if you don't even know about what the Law of One actually is. That's fine. The only thing you need to do to move on is you need to love and be in service to others. Like get to heaven? Not in the traditional sense at all. In the Law of One philosophy, there are 7 major densities in our universe. Think of them as different thresholds that have been separated off, but they're just different vibrational pockets in which different bodies can exist. Another way to think about it is think about the ocean. When you go down in the ocean, you need to have a specific body in order to go far enough down. And so what the Law of One is saying and what Ra is saying is that you need to have different bodies for each density. And again, there's 7 of them. 7 major ones, that is. So then reincarnation is kind of like just playing the game of different bodies with different experiences. So how does loving others get you to a higher density? Well, according to what they're telling us, it's actually just math. If you're more than 50% in service to others, then you'll move on in the positive polarization from this 3rd density to 4th density. But there's also the option to move on negatively, which means you're according to the Law of One, 95% or more in service to yourself. So there really is negative entities.
That's weird, but isn't that kind of like what reincarnation has always said? Like to some extent, like if you are a good person and do good and genuinely try to help others and live like a positive life and be a positive impact and reflection to others, that you would come back like as a higher being. Basically, if you screwed up and were an asshole, you would come back as like a snail or something like that. So I'm not really sure how much different this is to just like what standard reincarnation is. It's basically just a really long video telling you to like be a good person, but we watched it, so we did it.